The film begins by showing a man who is taking care of several children who lost their parents after a major war that occurred some time ago. Fast forward several years later, 10 samurai are seen training in the middle of a forest. After the training session, one of the samurai, named Azumi, secretly goes to a hill to admire the beautiful mountains in the morning. Once everyone has gathered, they discuss their desire to descend from the mountain and embark on their mission together. However, since it's lunchtime, they descend the hill and immediately enjoy the meal provided by their teacher and foster parent. At the dining table, their sensei tells them that tomorrow will be their last day there, and they will soon descend from the mountain. Hearing this, everyone is quite excited because they will finally receive the mission promised by sensei. The next day, sensei suddenly recalls his past. After the war ended, he and a monk mourned the fate of the soldiers who had to die due to the greed of a leader who kept starting wars. It also shows sensei's child who died right in front of his eyes. Seeing hundreds of thousands of soldiers die because of the prolonged war, the two decided to end the war by killing all the warlords to create a peaceful country without war. After that, the monk proposed a solution to sensei, to train assassins to eliminate the warlords who would cause future wars. Following the monk's advice, sensei swore on his life to complete this mission to fulfill their dream of building a country without war. After waking up from this painful memory, sensei immediately orders Azumi to gather everyone in front of the house. Once they were all assembled, sensei commanded them to pair up, where they would have to kill their own partner. This command is not without reason, as sensei believes that friends or loved ones would only hinder their mission in the future. So they must eliminate those feelings to be able to kill all enemies without regard for anyone else. Although initially hesitant, they ultimately had to carry out the orders of sensei, and the killing among them became inevitable. After the brutal exchange, only 5 remained: Azumi, Nagara, Amagi, Okeyo, and Hyuga. Before leaving, they buried the bodies of their comrades and burned down the hut they had lived in. During their journey, they accidentally entered a village under attack by bandits. At that moment, Azumi saw a mother and child about to be killed by one of the bandits. Therefore, she was flooded with memories of her own mother's death. Despite Azumi's determination to help, their teacher held her back and forbade any of them from interfering in others' affairs. Eventually, the people Azumi wanted to help were killed by the bandit. Witnessing this, Hyuga immediately complained to their teacher about why they didn't help the villagers. But sensei simply replied as he walked away, saying that killing hundreds of bandits wouldn't change the country. At the border, they were surprised by the arrival of a ninja who turned out to be an aide of the monk named Nagato. The ninja delivered a letter from the monk to sensei, stated that 3 warlords named Nagamasa, Kiyomasa, and Masayuki did not regret the battle at Sekigahara, which resulted in the defeat of the Toyotomi clan. They also recognized a young prince named Hideyori as the leader of the country. Additionally, these 3 warlords were rebels who would endanger the Tokugawa clan and needed to be eliminated immediately. After receiving the letter, Azumi immediately went to meet Nagamasa, who was fishing in a river. Seeing this, Azumi threw a stone, causing the fish to scatter and die, making it easier to harvest them quickly. She did this to save time and make her job more efficient. Meanwhile, Azumi's 4 friends who were hiding felt frustrated because she had not yet executed Nagamasa. With no other choice, they immediately emerged from their hiding place and killed all of Nagamasa's men, leaving not a single one alive. As for Nagamasa, he was promptly killed by Azumi immediately. Elsewhere, Warlord Kiyomasa was seen discussing with a subordinate, Kanbei, about the group that had killed Nagamasa. Kanbei, who was very loyal to his master, urged Kiyomasa to be cautious, but he considered himself strong and didn't pay much attention to Kanbei's concerns. After the discussion, Kanbei sought the help of a ninja named Suru, who served Kiyomasa, to create a scenario for his master's fake death. A few days later, Kiyomasa's entourage was seen traveling to a certain location, escorted by Kanbei. During their journey, an arrow suddenly pierced one of the guards, followed by an attack on the Norimono or palanquin right behind Kiyomasa. After the initial attack, which startled Kiyomasa's guards, Azumi suddenly leaped into the midst of Kiyomasa's soldiers and started killing them. After that, her four companions also joined the battlefield to kill Kiyomasa and Kanbei. Realizing they were in danger, Kanbei decided to lead his troops out of the combat zone. However, Azumi, witnessing this, immediately chased after Kanbei and managed to kick the Norimono that Kiyomasa was riding, causing it to fall into a ravine. Unfortunately, it wasn't Kiyomasa inside the Norimono, but rather the ninja Suru, revealing that it was a trap set for her group. Separated from her four companions, Azumi was suddenly swarmed by Suru's tough ninja forces, leaving her quite overwhelmed. Meanwhile, Amagi helped Azumi fight off the ninjas and Kanbei as well. However, as the signal of success sounded, the two decided to flee immediately. As they were up against ninjas, escaping wasn't as easy as they had hoped. The battle continued between the two mountain disciples and several of Sara's ninja subordinates. With her speed, Azumi easily killed several ninjas without getting injured. Unlike Azumi, though Amagi managed to kill all his opponents, one ninja succeeded in wounding his left hand with a shuriken. With the injuries they sustained, the two quickly left the area. At the same time, Kanbei had to face the reality of seeing his boss killed. That night, after the success of Azumi and her friends in killing Kiyomasa, they celebrated with a delicious dinner provided by their teacher. At that moment, they began to joke around, saying that their enemies were very weak. However, Sensei countered this statement, saying that it wasn't their enemies who were weak, but rather his students who were too strong. During the conversation, Nagara also mentioned that he and Azumi had fought several ninjas and defeated them. Therefore, Nagara dismissed the ninjas' abilities, considering them no different from the weak samurai they had already defeated. However, Sensei immediately warned them again, saying they should be careful when fighting ninjas because ninjas coat their weapons with poison. So even the smallest scratch could be fatal and lead to death. Unbeknownst to them, up in a tree, Saru was seen eavesdropping on Azumi's group. The next day, at Kiyomasa's residence, it was revealed that Warlord Kiyomasa was still alive and hadn't died. It turned out that the one who was killed wasn't him, but a soldier who closely resembled him. This deception was orchestrated by Kanbei to trick their enemies into believing that he was dead. However, the ninja Nagato managed to infiltrate Kiyomasa's residence and discovered that he was still alive. That night, Saru went to meet a group of mercenaries and offered them a substantial amount of money to kill Azumi's group. The next day, Azumi along with her three friends, except Hyuga, went for a walk and enjoyed a drama performance starring a beautiful actress named Ye. During the performance, Amagi began to feel the side effects of the wound he received while fighting the ninjas. Additionally, his wound started to enlarge and turn purple. Meanwhile, Hyuga, captivated by Ye's beauty, tried to introduce himself and show off some of his skills. Unlike Hyuga, Azumi was only interested in the robe Ye was wearing and didn't pay much attention to the performance. However, Hyuga had to part ways with Ye to carry out his mission, while Ye had to go elsewhere. The next day, Azumi hurried to the city center to say goodbye to Ye, while Nagara, who was very obedient to his teacher, chose to sit with Sensei while waiting for Amagi, who was resting. At the same time, Nagato arrived at Sensei's place and informed him that Nagamasa was still alive. Upon hearing this, Sensei immediately ordered Nagara to fetch Azumi and her companions. Sensei also realized that something was wrong with Amagi. It turned out that the poison in his body was spreading and making him increasingly frail. Elsewhere, Azumi, feeling late because she had missed Ye, decided to chase after her. However, on her way, Azumi encountered Ye's group being attacked by the mercenaries hired by Saru. The mercenaries were slaughtering her group members one by one, mistaking them for Azumi's group. The women in Ye's group were also harassed before being killed. Fortunately, Azumi and her group arrived just in time and immediately engaged in a fight with the mercenaries. With ease, Azumi and her group defeated them. However, despite their efforts, only Ye survived as the rest of her group had been killed by the mercenaries. Upon learning that the mercenaries he hired had been killed, Kanbei instructed Saru to immediately release Bijimaru, a deranged criminal they had imprisoned. Meanwhile, Azumi and her group took Ye to their resting place. Upon arrival, Azumi saw Amagi lying helplessly due to the poison. Realizing that he wouldn't survive much longer, Sensei decided to kill him. However, Azumi refused and turned her katana on Sensei instead. Sensei then told Azumi that the way she held her sword was not that of a killer and that she was no longer fit to carry out her mission. Seeing this, Azumi's group split into two factions. Sensei, Nagara, and Okayo decided to continue their journey, while Hyuga and Azumi chose to stay and care for the weakened Amagi. However, feeling like a burden, Amagi immediately took his sword and do the unthinkable. After Amagi's death, Hyuga went to the main road to escort Yae back to her home. Unfortunately, he was confronted by Saru and Bijimaru, who swiftly attacked and killed Hyuga with ease. After Hyuga's death, Bijimaru freed Yae at Saru's request. Upon discovering Hyuga's death, Azumi buried him and resolved to take Yae home in his place. That night, Saru reported Bijimaru's success to Kanbei, stating that Bijimaru had killed one of Nagamasa's assassins. However, Saru suddenly sensed the presence of someone eavesdropping on their conversation. So, he immediately went outside and forced Nagato to reveal himself. Fortunately, Nagato managed to escape. Not long after, Sensei was once again approached by a very worried Nagato, who provided details on Kiyomesa's movements, revealing that he was heading to a place called Gamo. Since Kiyomasa planned to travel by sea, they needed to kill him before he boarded his ship. Nagato also handed over a bag filled with explosives to destroy Kiyomasa. After this, he bid farewell for the last time. In short, Saru took Bijimaru to form an alliance with the residents of Monkey Village. Meanwhile, Yae gave Azumi a dress and started to style her, making her look beautiful. Yae then asked Azumi to join her and forget about all the revenge she was pursuing. At that moment, Azumi happily agreed to Yae's request and intended to go with her. That night, Okayo and his companions went to Kiyomesa's headquarters in Monkey Village and attacked all the guards there. After entering the headquarters, they were puzzled because there wasn't a single person inside. However, they were suddenly ambushed, causing them to scatter and protect themselves. Meanwhile, Sensei was seen slaughter dozens of Kiyomesa's soldiers and made his way to Kiyomasa. But due to his old age, he began to feel exhausted and was on the verge of death from fatigue. Even so, with the last of his energy, he managed to confront Kiyomasa. Quickly, Kanbei stepped in to block his old enemy, and he successfully defeated Sensei without killing him. The reason for not killing him was that it was believed the rest of his followers would come to his aid. With that opportunity, their forces planned to truly kill Sensei by having him fight Bijimaru. Outside, Okayo continued to fight bravely and managed to defeat hundreds of enemy soldiers. However, when his attention was focused on Bijimaru, he was suddenly stabbed with a spear by someone. Despite this, Okayo remained standing and kept killing Kiyomesa's soldiers one by one. Eventually, he saw his teacher captured by Kiyomesa's men and urged him to flee. With great courage, Okayo instead charged back at Kiyomesa's soldiers in a blind rage. However, because the enemies were too many, he ultimately died from several spears piercing his body. Meanwhile, Azumi and Yae were captured by a group of bandits. Azumi, who had promised not to kill anymore, was forced to act after seeing her friend threatened by the bandits. The next day, Azumi apologized to Yae for breaking her promise and decided to part ways, as she needed to help her teacher. Before parting, Yae gave Azumi a cloak that she had always dreamed of. In Monkey Village, Sensei was seen crucified, awaiting help, when unexpectedly, Azumi appeared in front of the village gate. As the shooters began firing at her, they accidentally hit their own troops, causing chaos. Bijimaru, seeing the situation, immediately leaped into the battlefield, killing anyone who blocked his path, including his own allies. Meanwhile, Saru, knowing Azumi's hiding place, prepared a cannon to kill her. However, Nagara also reappeared and handed explosives to Azumi. Then, he attacked Saru and detonated the bomb he carried, giving Azumi a chance to return to the fight. Shortly after, Azumi successfully blew up the shooters. After all the enemies were annihilated, the final battle between Azumi and Bijimaru began. In an intense fight scene, Bijimaru managed to knock Azumi down. However, she quickly dodged Bijimaru's attack and successfully counterattacked, slashing him and killing him. After the battle, Azumi approached her teacher. Unfortunately, Sensei could no longer be saved, therefore she went after Kiyomasa and killed him on the ship he was on with Kanbei. Afterward, Azumi returned to Monkey Village and saw that Nagaro was still alive. In the end, they decided to continue their teacher's mission to create a peaceful country for humanity. Moral lesson from the story: sometimes helping someone else might mean breaking a promise, but if you don't, you might end up with a lot of extra work and fewer friends.